相对，两臂抱拳，两掌与眉同齐。Today, there are tens of thousands of Falun Gong practitioners have been imprisoned in China for their non-violent peaceful activities. Falun Gong practitioners never harmed anyone.
Who is the Director of Religious Liberty Programs for the Institute of Religion and Democracy. So join me in welcoming Ms. McDonald.
We condemn the violations of human rights perpetrated by the communist regime, including the oppression, persecution, imprisonment, torture, and the horrific crime of harvesting organs from Falun Gong practitioners and others in China. This annual rally is a powerful reminder of the terrible violations of human rights committed by the Chinese regime against Falun Gong.
He has been a champion for human rights in general and for Falun Gong in particular. It's my pleasure to introduce Congresswoman Ileana Ross-Letton.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, good afternoon, Dr. Lily Chang, members of the Falun Dafa organizations, friends of Falun Gong, champions of human rights in China and across the globe, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you about such an important issue. As many of you know, I have addressed this peaceful gathering of Falun Gong activists for several years now. These communist thugs have a particular interest in repressing Falun Gong practitioners who pursue truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance as the antithesis of what the Chinese rulers stand for. The 610 office, established in 1999 to carry out the repression of Falun Gong, is eerily similar to the Gestapo and the KGB in its propaganda and ruthless methods. Indeed, Falun Gong adherents have been systematically arrested, tortured, and sent to forced labor camps for re-education, placed in mental institutions for brainwashing, and subjected to organ harvesting. And to this day, hundreds of thousands of Falun Gong followers are held in labor camps. The peaceful men and women of Falun Gong are among the largest group of prisoners of conscience in the world. President Obama must do what is right and not be timid in the face of Chinese bullying and Chinese threats. It is up to the United States, it is up to each and every one of us here today as symbols of liberty to confront the immoral communist dictatorship in Beijing and speak out for human rights of the Chinese people. This means urging the old men in Beijing to stop repressing and persecuting Falun Gong practitioners. It is our responsibility to be that shining city on the hill, to be a beacon of freedom, liberty, and hope for the entire world to see. America must stand with the Falun Gong and indeed with all of the oppressed. Beijing must release Falun Gong practitioners and other prisoners of conscience immediately. Set China free. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ileana. We really appreciate your incredible support. Our next speaker is Congressman Ted Poe of Texas. So join me in welcoming Congressman Poe.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for having me here. I am Congressman Ted Poe from the great state of Texas, and it's an honor to be here today and stand before you. I know that I stand in the presence of those who have been put through some of the worst tragedies imaginable. I have personally heard your stories that testify to the strength of your human courage. You are truly heroes in the truest sense of the word. The communist regime in Beijing has done all it can to crush your spirit. They've systematically burned and destroyed your books. They've told lies about you in the state-controlled media. Local officials threatened to and did take away your right to work, your jobs. Then they tried to re-educate you with psychological torture. Party leadership established an office whose sole mission was to get rid of you. Thousands of you, your friends and family members, have been arrested, starved, tortured, and abused by the communist Chinese. The communists have even killed many of your family members and your friends. Yet despite all of this, the Falun Gong movement persists. It does not stop. You have persevered, refusing to give in, refusing to give up. You see, what Beijing does not understand, that there is a funny thing about the human spirit. You can do what you want to a person. You can take away their job, take away their family, try to take away their freedom. But the human spirit is one thing that no government can take away from anyone. It's now been 13 years since the Chinese government started to try to eradicate the Falun Gong. But the Falun Gong is still practiced by thousands and thousands of people. You never wanted to take over the world. You are not a political movement. You just want to be left alone and have the right to believe whatever you want to believe. That, my friends, is a basic human right, to believe what you want to believe and practice it. And no government has the right to try to steal that from your inner soul. The communist regime and its henchmen, they need to go. It's persecution of the Falun Gong that shows it's not concerned about the welfare of the people. It's only concerned about control over your mind. And they shall not steal what you believe away from you. The communist government would like nothing better than if everyone just forgot about you and you forgot about your movement. But that is not going to happen. You are not going away, and I commend you for that. Stay in the fight, because you see, some things are worth fighting for. And personal liberty to believe what you want to believe is one of those things that you should fight for. And I commend you to fight for that. We will not forget those who died because they believe like you do. Those members of the Falun Gong whose bodies are throughout the world, buried in some cases in unknown graves. We will not forget them.
Since the very beginning. So join me in welcoming Congressman Rohrbecker.
Let me reaffirm to you what we are talking about today and what these speakers before me said, and what I am reaffirming today. The American people are with you. There is a message to Beijing. We are with every person in China, and especially the Falun Gong, who are struggling for the cause of freedom. I want to let you know, in our soul and our heart, we realize truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. You are standing for the goodness in this universe, but you are confronted with one of the worst evils that this humankind has ever are with you. We will stand with you. We are grateful to you for what you're doing. One last thought, and then I've got to go vote. Many of you may know that I was a speechwriter for President Ronald Reagan, and I was with him for 7 years. I worked at the other end of the street down here in the White House with President Reagan. And I remember when President Reagan, when he said to Gorbachev and stood in front of the Berlin Wall, tear down this wall. And it did not take an army. We did not have a war with the Soviet Union. No one was killed. But we had people like Ronald Reagan and like you who were expressing the morality of freedom, and were doing so aggressively. That's what changed the world. That's what destroyed communism without killing people in the Soviet Union. We will do the same in China. We will tear down the wall of tyranny, the wall of evil that stands between good people and the goodness of the universe. Thank you all. I am with you. America is with you.
I'd like to thank Congressman Rohrabacher. He has been a champion, a straight shooting champion for human rights, and in particular for Falun Gong. I'd now like will be Delphine Halgand. She's the Washington Director of Reporters Without Borders.
Thank you for inviting me today. It's a real honor to be here. So, I'm the US representative of Reporters Without Borders, which is the largest press freedom organization in the world. That's why I'm here today. Because today in China, as you all know, Falun Gongs are persecuted, arrested, tortured, and killed.
Our next speaker will be Dan Pfefferman, President of the International Coalition for Religious Freedom. Please join me in welcoming him back.
Thank you. It's an honor for me to be here at this rally for religious freedom, spiritual freedom, for the practitioners of Falun Gong in China. I'm very glad to follow my colleague Sue Vaughn of the Freedom House, which was the first human rights organization in the United States. So I see that organization as my elder brother organization, and I deeply respect them. It's a wonderful thing that this oldest and most respected human rights organization is giving strong support to the Falun Gong movement. The persecution of Falun Gong is one of the worst human rights abuses in the world. It is absolutely wrong. It must stop immediately. The United States Congress must do more to speak out against the persecution of Falun Gong. The United States President must speak out against the persecution of Falun Gong. Why is the Chinese government so afraid of Falun Gong? I know why. Because Falun Gong practitioners are spiritual people, and they know that human beings are spiritual beings. And they are bringing their mind and body together as powerful spiritual beings. The Chinese Communist regime is perpetrating against the members of Falun Gong today. Not only are they mining the body parts of Falun Gong practitioners, but even worse, they are attempting to destroy the spirit of the Falun Gong. But they cannot do it, no matter how many times they arrest them, to put them into re-education camps, torture them, even murder them. The spirit of Falun Gong is the human spirit, which is a eternal, absolute spirit, and it will never be defeated.
Maybe it sounds like I'm a Falun Dafa practitioner, but actually I'm not. Just I know that human beings are spiritual beings and that truth will never be defeated by a lie. So I look at the Falun Gong members as I look at the ancient Christians who were persecuted and sometimes repressed by the Roman government. There were times when the Roman government was able to make the Christians become less in number. But because of the prayers of the early Christians, because of their spiritual belief, because of their understanding that they are not just their bodies, but they are eternal beings, they eventually prevailed. And I believe that Falun Gong will eventually prevail, religious freedom will eventually prevail, and China will emerge as a truly great nation in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. And join me in welcoming our next speaker, Congressman Sam Farr of California.
Shay. I stand here in awe and respect for the hundreds of brave, thousands of brave people that are here today sharing your guiding principles: truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. According to the most recent State Department Human Rights Report, quote, overseas and domestic media and advocacy groups continue to report the instances of organ harvesting, particularly from the Falun Gong practitioners.
There was one good guy also for ski jumping, right? In Austria. Few of them.
Otherwise, you're going fast in New York. I can make me show a video of you guys. Yeah.
It's gonna be grainy.
No, that's pretty alright.
Really? Well, mine came out grainy.
Wow. Go. Hey, Hamza. Hey.
Yeah.
I think I'll go to the monument for the episode. Right?
I can speak for myself, where I've been to China and I was beaten, detained, and arrested just simply because I was a Falun Gong practitioner. But on a different note, I'm very happy to announce that I have been able to introduce Falun Gong to Courtney Dow many years ago, and now she is an accomplice.
Did you hear their cries, call for mercy from the other side of the world? They were still alive when their pure hearts were torn out for black market sale. Tweed down, tweed down, quiet tweed down, tweed down, tweed down, tweed down. Please stay here with me. The chance has arrived to embrace our lives. The time is now, eternally. Don't fade into.
This is a tune I actually finished writing on a plane ride back from China, just like Keith there mentioned. It's called Mother China.
Mother China, tell me, where can your virtue be found? The ones whom you praised, they carry it on. They're all beaten and they're tortured, they run out of time.
Beaten with chains in the evil den, calm in the lotus position, bruises on the skin, smell of burning flesh from electric shocks, cultivating in Falun Dafa, they will never stop. Unshakable faith, heart is diamond, unshakable faith, unshakable faith, gold is shining, unshakable faith.
Did you hear what's hidden behind the wall? Wall, wall. What's cooking with your